Hi, I'm Dr. John DeBach, and on this show, I answer your questions about relationships. Everything goes down to communication when it comes to relationships, right? So, whether you're struggling with an in law, or your partner, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, girlfriend, or you're trying to find your partner, that's what I'm here for. Happy to help, give you my experience working with couples and relationships for over 13 years. If you want to get a voicemail answered on this show, just leave it for me at the toll-free number, 888-705-3830. Again, 888-705-3830. Let's dive into our first call right now.
Hi, John. I need some advice. My boyfriend is seriously one of the best people I've ever met. He treats me really well. He's funny. He's responsible. And overall, I feel really safe with him. But I'm not super physically attracted to him. I thought it would grow over time, but it hasn't. And I'm not really super thrilled when it comes to the bedroom stuff, and I don't know what to do. I'm worried about what that means long term. I don't want to throw away something good over something that I feel is a bit shallow, but I also don't want to be stuck in a relationship where I feel like I'm forcing that part of it, and it does feel like that right now. So I guess the question is, can the attraction really build? Or am I just in denial?
It's so funny that these calls and these questions never come from men. It's only women. And I think that there's this unnatural, kind of unfair thing that happens where women are told, the attraction will grow, it'll be there. And the truth is, it rarely does. And the first question I ask when I'm talking to someone who's dating somebody new is there a spark? Is there attraction? And if the answer is no, I say you're wasting your time. And I hate telling you that. I hate saying that you're wasting your time because I want you to have a relationship where the guy is everything on paper. And I know that it's like, oh, but he's 90% there. It's just I don't find him attractive. That's a deal breaker. Right? There are some things where it's like, okay, I was hoping he'd make a little more money, but we can manage. Or I was hoping he had a slightly better relationship with his mom. It's a little weird, but we can make that work. Those aren't deal breakers. Attraction in a relationship is a deal breaker. If you are not attracted to the person, it is not you being shallow. It is not you saying I have, a very low sense of moral compass. It's you saying I deserve to have great sex and great fun in the bedroom and actually be attracted to my partner. There is nothing wrong with saying that is a deal breaker. Women have that problem. Men don't. Men don't sit around saying, she's wonderful, but I just can't stand to look at her, but I'll get over that. That doesn't really happen. Now, with women, it can evolve over time, but when we say time, it's not months. We're talking 2-3 dates. So that's my kind of golden rule. If you haven't found him physically attractive within 2 or 3 dates, you are wasting both of your time. You're giving him a false sense of hope, and you're lying to yourself because guess what? That doesn't really just spark out of nowhere. Okay? Let's get to the next call.
Hello, John. I've been single, or I feel like I've been single forever, and I have no idea where to even start anymore. I've tried dating apps, but they just feel exhausting, and meeting people in real life seems impossible. I don't want to waste years dating the wrong people, but I also don't want to rush into something just because I feel like I'm behind and haven't really figured all this out. So how do you actually meet someone good these days without it feeling like a second job? Thanks.
Great question, and I'm sure it's on the minds of lots of people. It is a second job. So if you're going to actively look for somebody these days, managing the apps, managing the messaging, going on all these, coffee dates or Zoom dates first, if you're still doing that post-COVID, some people are, or even just going out for dinner and having a friend who will call you in an emergency if it's a total disaster so you can get out of it. All of that takes a lot of effort. And there are 2 ways to approach this. 3, right? So one is you do the online game. Over 80% of people, at least in America, that's how they're meeting people now. And so there is fewer opportunities to meet somebody in person or get introduced to somebody offline just because that's not the expectation anymore. And so if you embrace that and say that's what it takes and I'm just going to go on these dates, In Yiddish, we say "Sei gesund hate," go and be healthy. That's the exact way. Right? Like that's how you do it, and you just have to embrace that that's going to happen. That's just going to be part of it. And the truth is, you only have to do it once. You only have to do it till you get married, and then guess what? You know, as the blackjack dealers say, I'm out, right? And I am so grateful that I didn't have to do it. My wife and I met before Tinder was a thing. There was eHarmony and JDate and all these things, but you know, we were able to meet in an era that is basically gone forever. So on one hand, you have to embrace that if that's the way you're going to look at it. The other thing that you can do is say, I refuse to participate, but I'm still going to meet people. So the way you do that is you go to places where the type of person you want to meet is actually hanging out, and you get comfortable approaching men. I hate saying it, but you get comfortable approaching men. And it doesn't mean that you hit on them. It doesn't mean that you go up and ask a man out necessarily, although there's nothing wrong with that. I read a scary statistic that men who are asked out and they say yes, if they go on to like more than 3 or 4 dates, they end up marrying the woman like over 60% of the time. So there's, you know, who cares how you met if you end up under the wedding canopy, right? So you can do that. The other thing is giving men opportunities to kind of be your hero. So if you're at a bar and you see a guy with a few of his friends, not there to meet women, but genuinely just having a good time at a restaurant or a bar, you can come over with a couple drinks and say, hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but would you hold my jacket or like hold my phone? My arms are full. That's you hitting on him, right? That's giving him the opportunity to say, yeah, I'll hold your phone. And then you say, thanks. And he goes, hey, and you're like, what's your name? And then suddenly he takes it from there because he's given the opportunity to feel like the hero. He's given the opportunity to feel like, oh my God, she's engaging without engaging. Some men are too dense and won't realize that's what you're doing, but a lot of them will. And a lot of their friends will say, hey, she was talking to you, go over there. And so you'll be surprised that you can do it that way. Great places to meet quality men are also at community events. So business mixers is another one, or church or temple or, you know, religious functions are a great one. Nonprofit kind of drives, toy drives, like big community events in general where there's philanthropy involved. Good quality guys typically go there. A lot more married people tend to show up, but you can sift it out. The other option you have is to say, I'm not going to do that. I am going to focus on being happy. And the truth is there's a lot of power in that, right? So if you focus on just being happy and being open, people will introduce you. I have a belief that that's the way the energy of the world works. If you're in a good place and you say, you know what, I'm going to focus on being happy, on finding joy. I'm not going to close myself off mentally or emotionally to being with somebody else. If someone asks, yeah, I'm always looking, but I'm going to focus on not my career and draining myself, but finding joy, having a good balance in life. If I like going hiking, I'm going to go hiking. And the most attractive quality in anybody is joy. Period. The most attractive quality is joy. So if you focus on that and you make that your way of attracting that in your life, I would say that is probably where you get the most healthy relationships. I've seen people do it the other two ways where they actively go out and pursue. Some of those people end up in relationships that feel a little forced because they're on the prowl, like what you've mentioned. You know, you're going and you're really looking for it. So if you don't want to do that, just opt out. Give it a year and just focus on you. And if someone introduces you, great. And if it comes up in a conversation, say, I'm always looking for the right guy, and you leave it at that. That's my advice. So you could choose any of those three paths. They're all completely valid, but it's up to you how you want to go about it. If you want to leave a voicemail, again, the number is on the screen, but if you're listening to this in your car, it's 888-705-3830, 888-705-3830. Let me pull up this next one here. There we go.
Hi, Dr. John. My husband and I are really different when it comes to how we show love. I'm more of a words of affection kind of a person, and he's more acts of service, and he's really not super touchy or verbal about his feelings at all. Okay. And I know that love languages aren't everything, but sometimes I feel like we're just speaking two completely, like, it's not just English, Spanish, it's like English and Martian. And, you know, is this something that couples can really work through, or is it always going to feel like we're not on the same page and that we're both kind of hungry for more and we just aren't understanding how or willing to give it to each other?
Okay, so great question. I think I deal with this in just about every couple that I see. Your love languages, when you say they aren't everything, you're right. There's other things. There's parenting, there's teamwork, there's ideological core values. But in terms of feeling loved, they are everything. And so are they ever going, if you have a husband who's not touchy-feely and he's not verbal, is he ever going to magically become that way on his own? No. And if he's acts of service and you're not, are you ever going to naturally say, I have to do all these acts of service? No, it takes effort. Remember that languages can be spoken, but they can also be heard. And so a lot of people, when they learn a new language, they have an okay time understanding languages, but speaking, it's hard. It's harder. It's harder to kind of take something that's not natural and implement it into your life. And the best way to learn a language is through practice. And the way you get good at it is speaking to a native speaker. So if I want to learn Spanish, excuse me, I don't just say, okay, well, I'm going to read a book and listen to an audio cassette or CD or MP3 or whatever and learn Spanish. I'm going to find a Spanish speaker and I'm going to speak to them. What's the equivalent in the love languages? The equivalent is you telling him how to do it. So if you need physical affection, get specific. If you need verbal affection, get specific. Let me show you what that looks like. I need physical affection to feel loved. Would you be open to giving me a 30-second long hug every morning before work? And I'm going to ask for it. I know that you'll forget because it's not natural for you to want that. It's not a natural desire for you. So I'm going to remind you. But I'm asking if you're open to doing it and you're open to doing it because you love me and that you want to make me feel happy. If the person says no, then you have a deeper emotional problem at that point, right? If they're not willing to give you a 30-second hug in the morning, they're mad at you or they're not interested in the relationship. Either one needs to kind of be addressed. But if you ask that way, that's okay. Now, I know a lot of people listening to this, especially women, are going to, and the reason I say especially women is because that's what I see on my couch, right? They will say, why do I have to ask? It feels stupid that I have to ask after all these years or all these months, however long you've been with us. And the truth is, you have to ask because people are different. People are different. He doesn't have that natural inclination. Right? Some people naturally wake up and feel like, you know what, I could use a good workout. Some people say, I don't want to work out this morning. It's different for different people. So if he's not touchy-feely, he still has the right to say no. But if you remind him, it becomes second nature. My wife is this. She's not as touchy-feely as me. She is a acts of service and gifts type of person. And so for years, I had to stand in the doorway when I got home saying, I'm home. Can I have my hug? I'm not gonna move until I get my welcome home hug. And she would come to me and hug me and kiss me and say, here we go. And that day, and the rest of the afternoon was great. Guess what? After 15 years, she searches me out. I don't stand in the doorway. Now she says, hi. She comes, she gives me a hug and a kiss. Not every day, even after 15 years. It's not supernatural, but it gets much better. If you want to hear your questions answered right here on the show, just leave a voicemail at the number below. It's 888-705-3830. Again, 888-705-3830. I do have a couple spots still available for personal counseling or coaching sessions. Info in the comments below. I am expensive. I get I'm not for everybody. That's why I do this show. But as long as spots are available, I'm happy to entertain if that's something you're interested in. No pressure, obviously. Happy to help this way too. Thanks for watching.